Yeah, it's a fair disclaimer. This didn't start out as a keynote. It's a fun little talk that I couldn't get short enough. So having time where I probably won't get a lot of questions actually means that I don't need to panic about trying to get it down to 60 minutes. I can fit into the 90. And this is a bunch of things I've been kicking around for a while about lessons, words, concepts, ideas that you learn in one part of your life that you can apply to another part of your life. So specifically about making you a better programmer. Now, at CPP North last year, I did a whole hour and a half on, am I a good programmer? So I'm not going to define better programmer, but you can probably put some synonyms in there, make you more skilled, make you quicker, make you competent, capable, that kind of stuff, right? But maybe that's not your goal. Maybe what you'd like to be is a happier programmer, someone who enjoys more parts of your job or who has more parts of your job that are enjoyable. There's a couple ways to order that sentence. Maybe to be a freer programmer. It's kind of part of the point of this talk that you get to decide what it is you would like to improve about yourself. This is not like some HR training where I tell you how to be a busy little bee and a really useful engine, right? That's not the plan at all. So you decide what your goals would be and what you'd like to get better at. Now I'm talking about casual games. This is not, I have a raid Wednesday nights from 7 till 11, okay? This is, you're on the bus. You are waiting in a doctor's office. You just want to pass the time. So you're playing cards, or you're solving puzzles, or you're fighting little battles. There's no real commitment to other people. If I don't solve 11 mazes by Tuesday, no. And you can stop. I don't just mean you don't have to play another hand of solitaire. You can just, hit the home button in the middle of playing a hand of solitaire and you don't really care that, oh my gosh, I'd almost found the 5 of spades. You just stop when you feel like stopping, that kind of game. Typically, though, these games, you do kind of level up. They get harder as you get better. And this isn't altruism from the game designers. Once you get really good at them, they would get boring. So they make them harder. If they made them harder at the very beginning, they'd be too difficult and you wouldn't like them because they'd no fun and you wouldn't win. So they start easy and they get harder. Our careers are not deliberately designed that way. But yet that is a phenomenon that we see in our careers. And some of the games I'm talking about have an online component that enables them to know what month it is. That enables you to communicate with other people, but it's not a requirement for the kind of game I'm talking about. So I noticed a number of similarities between what skills you need to play Candy Crush or Solitaire or Roller Coaster Tycoon and what skills you need to navigate your workplace. Surely you have found yourself required to choose a path when you don't actually have enough information to correctly and accurately decide what to do. Nonetheless, the barbarian is coming towards you and you should decide what to do. When you're in those games that have the online communication, you can talk to your alliance, your guild, your league, your clan, whatever they're called, you may find yourself tasked with making a plan and getting a pile of people who don't answer to you to follow your plan. And when they don't follow your plan, you have to be a good sport, supposedly. And this doesn't even require that it be like a battle strategy. This can be as simple as, here is a thing that you can all do this weekend or not. And there are 20 of you in this group. If 15 of you do the thing, all 20 of you will get a chest. Right? So you do the thing because you're a team player, but it turns out only 14 people did the thing. But no chest for you. Then you're disappointed about that. And maybe to prevent that, back when 10 or 13 people had done the thing, you were in the group chat going, come on, just a couple more people and we'll all get the chest. But this is what happens at work. You did your thing on time. Someone else didn't, and we slipped, or whatever, right? And all of those emotions and feelings of being angry at people over often very small things, are things you can learn to deal with in a game context and you can learn to deal with in a work context. And every day, I'm constantly having to make new decisions. As I revisit that decision, I didn't have enough information to make. Now I have enough information. What am I going to do about that? What am I going to change? And how am I going to move forward? Based on where I'm standing, even if where I'm standing turns out to be a really bad place to have chosen to stand. But we can kind of pull up a little bit and have a metagame and say, you know, things get measured. Could be your score, could be how long it takes you to do this puzzle, could be how many people did the thing to earn the chest. In general, observing what's getting measured, observing which actions move the metric, and figuring out how to move that metric with the least possible effort is a lifelong skill. But requires you to know 100% what rewards are being offered for the metrics. You don't want to go to a great deal of trouble to move a metric so that you can win a donut and ignore a different metric for which you could have won a big promotion, right? When I was an engineering undergrad, we had a practice we called optimizing. So let's say you had 2 assignments due next week. One of them in a course that only had 5 assignments, and they were worth 20% of your final mark. So each assignment is worth 4% of your final mark. In the other course, they have 10 assignments, and all the assignments together are worth 5% of your final mark. So each assignment's only a half. You don't have time to do both assignments to earn a 10 out of 10 on both. Do you want to earn a 10 out of 10 and have it count for 4 full marks of your final mark? Or a half a mark of your final mark? We would call that optimizing, and we would do the assignment that was worth the biggest part of our final mark first. Now, I mentioned you have to know all the rewards available. As someone who has taught undergrads, I do know that one of the rewards of doing an assignment is not just that you get 10 out of 10, but that you actually learn some material and gain some ability to do whatever it was. I know, it's true. Tell your friends. And so the absolutely best optimizers, after they got 10 out of 10 on the one that was worth the most, and 4 out of 10, or maybe 1 out of 10 because they wrote their name on the other one, they still, nonetheless, after the due date, completed the other one in order to earn the reward called learning the material. And that's the absolutely best optimizing. But we still have this situation in everything we do. The things that are going to reward you the most are the things you put the most effort to. The things that are going to offer you a proportionately smaller reward, they get a smaller effort. And getting other people to be on your team, help you earning rewards, however that might be done, is a skill that will carry everyone a very long way. But it's not all good, right? What if you're spending time at work doing things that matter to you, don't matter to anyone else, there are no rewards for them, but you're putting 10 hours a week into them? Well, there are some rewards that you're not earning, and unfortunately, those could be very substantial and important rewards. Not knowing that there are rewards on offer that you're not earning, one of the rewards that's always on offer every week is you get to keep this job. You may continue to work here. And most of us have to earn that, maybe not every week, but every month, right? At some point, someone's like, what is it that you do here again? Do you not really want anyone asking you that? They're supposed to know what you do here. You have other awards that you may be not bothering to earn, like people think you're a team player. People like you. People want to help you when you need help. And too much focus on, I'm going to win that donut or that trip to Hawaii or whatever, may freeze you out from winning things that are actually worth an awful lot more. I was telling someone this week, my sister is in her late 50s and she just started a new job. Anyone started a new job in the last year or so? Yeah, good, the economy is still moving people around. Well, you know, and you can attest to this to me, there's a lot of training. So you have to learn your way around the building, you have to learn how to put in your expense account, but my absolute favorite of all the courses my sister was sent on, she was sent on a course called How to Sit on a Chair. She's 57, I think she knows how to sit on a chair. I think we covered that at some point. But many of us have tried skipping these sorts of trainings. Where's the wiki, right? What's the rules around business travel or whatever? That seems like a real waste of time. I'm sure I know how that works. And then later you find out that you do not know how that works here. So skipping things, whether it's the tutorial in the game or the training in your first week of work, can really hurt you if you think you know everything and that you're going to allocate your effort and that's not worth it because there's no reward in it. You don't know if there's a reward in that training or not until you take it. And I have a fairly lengthy section on side quests, so I'll just mention briefly that you can also hurt yourself with side quests, and then we'll come back to that. Because you need to remember your goals. And the interesting thing about being employed is that there are two sets of goals going on. There's your personal goals, and there's the goals of your project. And life is good when they align, and they don't always. But you can forget what your project is supposed to be for. You can also forget what you are here for. I talk to people who are just having a very hard time where they work, and they can't let go because they're very, very committed to the goals of their project, which is delightful, but they've forgotten their own personal goals in the process of doing that. So people who burn themselves out, work too much, things like that, they've forgotten that there are these dual goals. Now think about that reward from the game where if 15 people do the thing, all 20 of you get chests. I'm a very generous and altruistic person, so I'm like, that's nice. It's nice that Bill and Joe were having a slow month, but they still get the chest. That's nice. until the time when only 14 of us do the thing. There's no chests. If we didn't have those freeloaders on this team, if we had different people on this team, more people would have done the thing and I would have the chest I deserve, the chest I'm entitled to, right? And it's a very common feeling in a game. And some people get really caught up in that. They get very unhappy. They have a lot of stomach acid. It's all sad. But, how can you encourage the 15th person to do the thing? So instead of kicking them out and replacing them with a potentially better person, you bring them up and they remember to do the thing and you get your chest. Is it as simple as saying, no freeloaders, we're going to throw everybody out who's not contributing? Or is it about making people who are not contributing contribute? If you have the ability to persuade that person who is on a cruise to nonetheless play the game twice a day and earn you the thing, then you have the ability to get that other person in your department to do the thing they're not doing, right? It's the same set of skills. And my favorite, this puzzle has a really short time limit, has a 2-minute time limit. That's okay, I'm pretty good at this puzzle. I probably need 3 minutes, but I'll just click really quickly, it'll be fine. And time runs out. I don't do the puzzle. I don't get my dopamine. I feel sad. I didn't do it. I'm gonna do it again. I'm not gonna be any faster, I'm gonna be slower because I'm mad, right? But I want it to work the second time, so I just do it again. Well, a lot of us do that at work. They say that insanity is the same action and expecting a different result, but I see it all the time. We're just gonna set the deadline and then work out how much work we're gonna do, that kind of stuff. Really? Did that work last year? Well, no, but I really want it to work, so that's what we're going to do. Okay. I thought I'd start with a little bit of housekeeping. Have you ever explained a casual game to someone who doesn't know it at all? They're like over your shoulder at the doctor. What is that? Is that cards? Are those jewels? Do you have little dragons there? What's going on, right? And you say, well, in this game, we fight battles. I'm the people with the blue bars, and the bad guys have the red bars, and I've got these spells, and okay, that's nice. I solve puzzles, I match things, I put like things next to each other, I find things. Here's an idyllic little cottage scene, and I have to find the dog and the rabbit and the flower. Okay, in general, I make this number go up while this number goes down. That's how this game works. But when you actually wake up in the morning and pick up your tablet and decide to play the game for a couple minutes before you get out of bed, what do you actually do? You don't fight battles or solve puzzles or look for things in pretty little scenes. No, you gotta check the chat, right? All of the screenshots in here, if they had people's handles, I've redacted them. So they look a little awkward in some places, but this is an Alliance chat where they're sharing coordinates and saying, We need this at X34, we need this at Y42, and so on. And maybe you decide to go to X34 and make that happen. You've got, of course, your rewards for playing every day. And if you miss a day, you're going to go back to 0 and get the cheap reward again, so you don't want to miss a day. Every game's got some sort of mechanism for doing that. You got one chance a day to donate things to other people in your alliance. And of course, the daily challenges. And things that expire, right? Oh, this is great, but it's only going to last another 12 hours and 59 minutes and 59 seconds. We're counting down to the second. You got to get out there and find all those keys or buy some, of course. These ones last longer. They last in days and hours. But, you got to make sure you're not missing out anything that could go by. And then there's all these different conversions in most games. So you got to convert gems to gold or food or something, and then you come back and you collect them. And depending on the game, this can take 30 seconds or this can take 30 minutes, of people mucking about doing their housekeeping. Well, we have our dailies as developers also. I gotta check my email. Step 1, for me, everything comes into email. Who's talking to me? Who's sending me what I was waiting for? Who's asking me for something? What's happening? I go to my email. And while I'm in there, I can see that I have meetings or that I have calls. All right, sort of setting the tone for my day. Now, how much I need to panic, fine. But then, Slack, Discord, mentions and DMs, and if I'm lucky, 5 other products, right? Get an issue page, maybe. Not just my stuff, because I probably got an email notification about that, but there's usually someone you kind of have your eye on, right? Did Chris actually do what he said he was going to do? I'm going to go and take a look at that page. Okay, now I know, right? So you got your little snooping and spying that you need to do or what have you. And notifications from 10, 20 different things. And this is never 30 seconds, right? Who spends more than an hour at the beginning of the day doing this? Yeah, there's hands, right? Actually, now that people are like, I'm not the only one, I can admit it also. Like, it's a lot, right? And it's not what you supposedly do. If you met an elderly relative and they said, and what is it that you do again, dear? You would not be like, I look at notifications. I check to see if there is a red dot on anything, and if there is, I click that thing. But that is actually how our days tend to start. And of course, if you have those meetings and you have those calls and you said you would do something, you have now maybe 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, whatever, to do the thing before that meeting starts. And in general, in addition to all of this live notification action, there is your remember plan. Remember you had a theory about what last week you thought, I'm going to do this, this, and this next week. I often say to one of my children, welcome to later. But here's the deal. When I was talking about the game housekeeping, nobody made any faces. Nobody's like, I gotta pick up my free gems again. It's so heavy, having all these gems in your pocket. People don't resent their game housekeeping. People don't feel like, if I haven't donated yet and it's already 11:30, I'm a bad game player. You kind of feel, when you've got it all done, like, okay, I got my gems, I got my food, I checked the chat, I'm good, I don't owe anybody anything, and I can relax and play now. Deal those cards, I'm gonna play, or bring on those people for me to battle. But at work, it's somehow different. We do resent that housekeeping. We do say, it's not my job to look for red dots on taskbars. I want to do my work. A lot of people tell me all the time how meetings keep you from doing any work, right? Meetings are work. They produce, in many cases, useful things, decisions, blame, budgets. Meetings are really useful things, but we don't feel that way, right? We resent our work housekeeping. But what if you didn't? What if you could be like, there, I had my weekly meeting, I'm all caught up, I don't owe anybody anything, life is good, I'm a useful engine. If you have no notifications on any of your products, Can you just soak that in? It won't last long, I understand, but can you kind of soak that in? Like, I have read all the things I want to read. And if you never get there, you need to mute some stuff, right? There should be stretches of time where nobody's talking to you. How many to-dos did I get done today so far? Wow, it's only 10:30. I have 5 to-dos done. Have a moment and enjoy that moment because you accomplished a thing. If the way you felt about work housekeeping was more like the way you felt about game housekeeping, you wouldn't necessarily get it done any faster or any better, but maybe you would enjoy it more. And it turns out they do not come around and give you either extra money or gold medals for not liking stuff, right? You answered all the emails that I sent you, and I know you hated it, so here's 100 your currency, dollars, pounds, whatever. No. If you get to earn the reward of you get to keep your job, then you get to earn that reward whether you enjoyed it or not. But that means that you won't be penalized for enjoying it. You're not getting paid for disliking work, you're only getting paid for doing work. So if you can like it, that's a good thing. Especially the games that know what month it is, that know the date, they have this concept of events. You know, it's the weekend, or it's spring, or it's Halloween or something. And they change something. Your battles or your puzzles or whatever, they count towards a different score, they earn you different rewards, they take some of the game mechanics away. You know, you can't die, but you only have half as much time. So normally you would hang back so you could heal and then carry forward. Now you got to blast through no matter what. You just experience a different way of playing whatever the game is. That takes time and effort. Anyone here who's a game programmer knows there's work involved in that. Why do they do that? They've got a perfectly good game. Come in, play solitaire, put the 7 on the 8, whatever, then all the cards animate when you get it perfect. Why are you messing around with that? By making them a different color, or by making, I don't know, you put the 8 on the 7, making something completely upside down. Well, many people interpret something being different as being fun. The same is boring, different is fun. So they change something so that you have more fun, so that you play more. Or you do something more that you don't normally do. So maybe they are giving out rewards for using a different part of the game that you've been ignoring, they'd like more people to do. There may be parts of the game you don't like. You find them frustrating or difficult. Well, what if we took those away? Would people play more? That's what they want. I don't know why. All the games I play are free to play. So I don't know why it matters whether I pay for 5 minutes or half an hour, or they would somehow create the most compelling event ever and I would play for 5 hours. But that's one of their goals. So they want to do that, and they're trying to find ways to make me do that. Wouldn't it be cool if, as developers, we could have an event that was sufficiently compelling, fun, different, took away the parts you don't like, gave you more rewards, that you would look forward to it and you would, if not work more, maybe work more engagedly, work more fully, because you were having a fun time at the event. Well, some of us unfortunately have this event, Crunch. That's a different mechanic, right? That's different rewards. That whole, if we don't ship on time, we'll just go bankrupt. There's no pressure, right? Deadlines that are for once really deadlines. Like in a game, deadlines are deadlines. If this chest expires at midnight, you can't show up at 5 minutes after midnight with the gems and try to open the chest. It's gone. It went at midnight. At work, you can usually always be late. And Crunch, which everyone agrees is terrible, is the one time when you can't be late. But there are good deadlines too. After a big deploy, even if it wasn't Crunch, often there's a couple of days, weeks, maybe really longer than that, where everything's a little chiller, right? They've put some room in the schedule maybe to react to disasters, rollbacks, right, and all of that sort of thing. Or maybe just as a reward, like, we know we drove you really hard. You can have lessons learned meetings, you can pay down some technical debt, you can write the documentation that you skipped because you threw it overboard when you were running low on time. That is kind of an event. Being at work in those slack times is very different than it had been just before that slack time. I'm Canadian. I think it's delightful that we're opening and closing with Canadian speakers. And very many companies have this concept of summer hours, because our summer is very important to us. And people take a lot of time, not just vacation, but go somewhere for the weekend. So if work could end at noon on Fridays, you could take off ahead of the traffic, right? Even if you have to wait for your partner to get off work, you could go home and load the car up with everything. And the minute your partner got home, you could take off and beat the traffic. It's a big, big thing. Actually, it's one of our hobbies, is beating the traffic. But some companies go so far as you don't have to work Fridays. You're only going to work 4 days a week in the summer. Sometimes they make this time up with making the other days longer. Other times they just take the productivity hit and say, we want everyone to be happy. So you can have a great time. We're not going to push you hard in the summer. We'll push you hard in the winter when it's dark anyway. Other companies will do a learning week. This is not you can go and learn Rust, Haskell, ranges, whatever, for a week, but that everyone on the team is learning this week. And there aren't any deadlines, there aren't any meetings, you're not doing the other stuff. You're not going to be interrupted by people asking you questions about the ongoing project, because the ongoing project is paused so that you can learn. Management never wants to do this. Why don't I just give them vacation? You know, they're not going to get anything done. Why don't I let them go be on a beach? But if you persuade management to do it, they actually discover that some very wonderful things happen. For one thing, people feel happy in the office. They actually have better, warmer feelings associated with the office afterwards. And there's a synergy of people learning together and helping each other learn. You've probably experienced that coming to a conference. You're learning things you wouldn't have otherwise learned. You're bumping into people. You're connecting this talk to that talk, or this talk to that hallway conversation. And this ends up producing far more learning than you would have done on your own in the evenings. Even if you're super disciplined and you do it for 2 hours a day, it's not the same. And in some companies, you can get loaned out to another project. If you ever get this opportunity, I encourage you to think of it as an event. You're going to have a different mechanic, what you do all day, and a different reward structure, and some parts of the game are going to not apply. So you're reporting to a different manager, except that if that manager hates you, that's okay, you still have your old manager, right? But if that manager loves you, that's just a free reward. So when you start thinking of some of these opportunities with a different set of eyes, or with the knowledge you already gained from playing games, it can put you in a good place. Now, I did briefly mention side quests, so it makes sense to expand on this a little bit. First of all, if you haven't heard the phrase, many games have some sort of an overall mission. Solve all the puzzles, win all the battles, get to the end of the path, defeat the really big boss, whatever. And you're running around doing things to enable you to do that. So you go to fight this boss, and you lose because you don't have a piece of equipment, so you go do something to get the piece of equipment, and then you can proceed along the way. Side quests don't directly work towards that mission, okay? They might, but it's not a requirement. So you're asked to do something that's not part of the overall mission, and you'll get a reward for doing that. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. That big boss that you can't beat without that particular piece of equipment, you've got to go and find that piece of equipment. Finding that equipment is part of the core quest of the whole game. You can't skip it. Side quests you could skip. But if you don't, if you do them, there's something in it for you. Typical one will be, do this 10 times, or 100 times, or 1,000 times, and then you'll be given a thing. Might be collect, 10 flowers. This is a screenshot from a game I sometimes play, destroy 90 obstacles. When you do a battle, there's 10, 15 obstacles in a battle. Except some people don't have that many. Some people, for whatever reason, only put up 2 obstacles, so you do the whole battle and you only get 2. So you don't kind of know how long the thing's gonna take. And in this game, if you destroyed 5 obstacles and then you lost the battle and died, you still get credit for the 5 obstacles. So you're still making progress on your side quest, even though you didn't win the battle. Sometimes they want to teach you about part of the game. So this one says, summon 6 insta-troops, which is an optional thing that you might not be using and you might not know how it could help you. By saying, never mind the benefit of using insta-troops, if you summon 6 of them, I'll give you 100 purple circles. Then someone's like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I need more purple circles, I'm in. And that's generally the idea with a side quest. They give you something to do. It's gonna take you 6 months to kill the big bad, but you're gonna get your little chests and prizes and purple circles and whatnot on your way there. They'll remind you about the bits of the game you've been ignoring. Oh yeah, insta-troops. Turns out they're helpful. And maybe they are in and of themselves fun. You need to explore something or solve a puzzle in a game that doesn't normally do puzzles or doesn't normally do exploring, so you enjoy them. Lots of people find that if things are a little bit of a challenge, that lights up the right parts of their brain. Not too hard, that's just frustrating, but an interesting challenge, thank you very much, I will do that. But they're not all good. In games that have a lot of side quests, you hear people talking in a way that is probably not a healthy way to talk outside of games. I can just try, fail, but I'm making progress. Okay, I'm supposed to do 3 heal spells. Okay, I went in there, I died after 10 seconds, but I got a heal spell off before I died, so if I do that again and again, then I got my reward. I don't even need it. I'm at full health. Everyone around me at full health. I'm gonna fire off a heal spell anyway, because I'm trying to fire off heal spells to win my side quest, not for what you usually are using them for. And so you metaphorically have someone walking down a pathway just shooting fireballs at trees. There's no enemies, but that's okay because they're trying to get purple circles for shooting off enough fireballs and they don't need the fireball. This can mean that you don't actually work on the main goal of the game. You've got 10 minutes because your doctor is running late and you just mess around on your side quest for the whole 10 minutes. Then you realize, I haven't moved at all on my overall mission for weeks because I'm playing around trying to win my side quest, get my chest, collect my purple circles. Now, in a game, there's actually another real point. Right? Okay, you're gonna solve all the puzzles or defeat the big bad or find all the candies or whatever, but the real goal of the game is to pass the time and have fun and enjoy yourself. Something more interesting than sitting in the doctor's office reading the posters on the wall. It's not a super high bar. You probably aren't gonna lose track of that real goal, but it is sort of a thing where maybe the game is not so much fun for you anymore because I only have a week to do that thing 10 times. And I've done it 7 times, but when am I gonna get a chance to do it 3 more times? And then you are disconnecting from that idea, this is supposed to be fun. I'm supposed to be able to stop whenever I want. That's how we define these games. Stop in the middle of a battle if you feel like it, but all of a sudden you're like, no, my progress. I'm 70% of the way to my chest. I don't want to throw that away and waste it. Sunk cost fallacy. You're in there sinking more cost and earning more chances of getting that chest. So, side quests at work. You've probably all seen these ones. I'd like to increase my head count. Like, that's not the company's goal, right? Nobody said at the annual meeting, and we should make sure that Kate's department gets more people this year. That's a company goal. We'll all be happy if we achieve that. Right? That's my goal. And often the goal is like, because I'm in a competition with someone else who I don't like. So I want to make more money than them, or I want to have a bigger budget than them, or I want to have a bigger head count than them, or in some way be the winner. And people do some very perverse things in order to achieve these goals of things like increasing their head count. I'm a consultant. I'm very familiar with this side quest. Use up this year's budget. Could you bill me for 10 days today? And I will use the 10 days in the next few months, but I need to pay for them in this fiscal, right? Because if I don't use all my money in this fiscal, I will get less money next year, and I will not be able to pay for those days from you. I'm gonna pay for them now, that'll keep my budget high, and then I'll actually use them. And you know what? Some of the time they don't. actually use them. It was more important to keep their budget high, so they just hand me 10 days of money. I am a team player, okay, and I am a full service consultant, and if any of you would like to give me 10 days worth of money for bizarre reasons having to do with you getting promoted or whatever, the contact information is on the, we'll talk. Sometimes someone on your team is making your team kind of look bad. They're making long speeches in meetings about how that other team is so good and clever and blameless in this situation. And you're like, what's going on? Why are we under the bus? Why do you suddenly like tech support so much, right? Well, maybe they want to get transferred to tech support, or maybe they know they're going to need tech support in September when they got something big coming down the pipe, and they're going to need some favors to turn in. You've met these people. Sometimes it's great. You just look back and say, boy, as long as you only use your powers for good. But sometimes they're not using their powers for good. These are side quests. They're not about whatever your project's supposed to be, whatever your team is supposed to be, or whatever your company is supposed to be. They're someone's personal choices. And here's one I believe you've probably all done. I would like to use a particular tool, language, framework, technique. I want some experience in Rust, Haskell, ranges. I want to move up to C++, 17, 20, 23. I want to use this library. And like the person shooting the fireballs, you don't need the project to succeed. You're going to put on your resume that you did 3 projects in technology, whatever. And you did. Or maybe they'll kind of succeed, but they took twice as long as they should have. You're not going to put that on your resume, right? You want to say, I've got experience in this thing. Well, okay, you're following a side quest. They're not all bad. There are good work side quests where you challenge yourself to get better, when you make work fun at the same time as meeting the main goals that you're supposed to do. Here's a tweet from Oliver. Oliver's not here, but this is, a lot of people have been quoting his tweets, you know? And I'm gonna do it too. He says, when you can, try solving problems with artificial restrictions, right? That you can't use a certain feature. You can only do it this way. Because it's practice, makes you stronger. Like getting the purple circles for using InstaTroops, maybe you could crack open the algorithm header. I may have mentioned this once or twice before, but there's some very cool stuff in the algorithm header. Maybe you should try const expr all the things and see if that actually makes any difference or not. Here he says, if you want to write something little, and you wouldn't do this for a giant thing that's going to take 6 months, but if you're going to write something little, try doing absolutely everything by value and with copying, okay? Do it, get it running, get it working, measure it. Then go to the places where you were, I can't believe I'm doing this by value. Go in there and fix them up, reference or whatever, and measure again. Did it matter? Get better at knowing when it matters and get more comfortable with recognizing those kinds of patterns. And this other one, he says, try having no heap, everything on the stack. Try having no loops, like literally you can't write FOR, which means you can't write for underscore each either. No while, do everything with stuff from the standard library. Yeah, this may take a little longer. Maybe your 3-day project turns into a 4-day project, but you gained something, right? You built a muscle, you stretched your abilities. You discovered that, hey, this const expert thing might really catch on. That may be worth it. You got working code. It just has to be in addition to working code, but you pushed yourself a little bit, got a little further. I think that's a good side quest. There are also plenty of neutral side quests. Lots of people are friends with their coworkers. The company doesn't care, right? But it's nice to work with people you like. It's nice to have friends. It's nice to have friends that you see every day. So making friends with coworkers is totally a side quest, but it's not a bad one. Making connections with your friend who moved to another company, with someone you met at a conference, with someone that you are working with in another company as part of a project. Again, that's to your benefit. It hurts no one. It's fine. A lot of people gained weight in the pandemic, and a couple people told me it was because they couldn't use their tricks. So I knew someone who said, I never take the elevator to a meeting. Up and down the stairs, a lot of meetings, it's leg day. I even knew one person who said, I never use the bathroom on my own floor. They had two reasons. One, it's awkward, they felt, to meet someone they knew in the bathroom at the sinks. But also, you got to go up and down a flight of stairs every time you need to go to the bathroom. You're getting a little exercise. It's a neutral side quest. You want to take it on? You go right ahead. You're not hurting anyone. And learning things, because your company needs you to learn them, but you're going to remember them afterwards and still know them elsewhere, and they're going on your resume, that's not bad. Right? It was only a bad side quest when the only reason you wanted to use that tool was for your resume, and not because the project needed the tool or would benefit from the tool. Same thing as getting better at stuff that's not currently your job. I'd like to blog more. I'd like to tweet more. I'd like to practice writing longer length pieces than just 5 lines about an API. I'd like to do some speaking. Yeah, the company is probably like, yeah, feel free to get better at things that could be valuable to us. That's great, you know. You're not hurting them. They maybe aren't going to invest in doing it or run around and give you a raise for announcing that you're going to try, but it's a neutral side quest. And yeah, sometimes you get to go on a plane, go somewhere nice, eat in a restaurant, see the sights. Nothing wrong with that. But what do you do when someone in one of your larger circles, well, they're being weird? You can't understand what is motivating them. Why are you doing that? Why are you being nice to that team? Why are you building this in that language? What's going on? Well, possibly the reason you can't understand their motivation is they're not motivated by the main goal of the project. They're motivated by a different goal, which may be their own personal and private one, or it may be another corporate goal that you don't know about. Okay, like we intend to lay all these people off, so we need to make it in a way that we don't need as many staff. That's a sort of a difficult motivation to understand when you see it starting to happen. If you see people appearing to waste resources to send fireballs into the air when there's no enemy to spray with fire, they may be being spent on a side quest. Not necessarily a bad one. That person who took the extra day to write the utility because they decided to do it with no loops may appear on the surface to be wasting resources, but they're actually learning something and strengthening their abilities. They just didn't check it with you first because you're just their peer. And what about when somebody offers you 100 purple circles? You know, somebody really wants you to do something that you don't want to do, and they said, hey, you should do this thing, and you said, no, I'm good, and they said, no, you should do this thing. They may be offering you a side quest. And then you need to understand what reward is coming along with this side quest. Long time ago, when people worked in the same company for many, many years, someone I went to university with was hired by a company with an office in Canada and a head office in America, and not one of the delightful parts of America, but in, I forget, maybe Akron, Ohio, or Cleveland, or someplace. Like no one says, boy, I hope we can move to Cleveland. It might even be nice there, but that's not its reputation, right? And he was told, you cannot become a vice president here unless you spend at least 2 years at head office. And understand you're going to move your family, you're going to move your children are going to go to a school in Ohio instead of in Canada. If you don't do that, you can never be a vice president. Which is fine by him, he didn't want to be a vice president. But if someone's, offering you this great opportunity in Ohio, and you don't want to take your kids out of the school they're in, maybe they're trying to set up some longer thing. So you need to kind of understand what questions to ask about, what would that open up for me here if I were to do that, and find out what you're being offered. I don't think it's all good for you to make yourself a ton of side quests at work. For some people, it is a cool trick, and it'll push you forward, make you do things with a little more intensity, with a little more stick-to-itiveness, make you learn something that you really were going to learn eventually, sure. And that's good when it works. You're building up your values, your strengths, your skills, what you're worth to this company and elsewhere. But there are people for whom this is a big distraction. They're spending company resources, namely their own hours, on their own goals, and not, this is what makes it the bad part, not the team goals. If you're supporting everyone's goals, that's cool, but if it's not, or you're pushing yourself into a burnout situation. Someone I worked with, actually someone who asked me to bill for days I hadn't spent yet, when he left the company, it turned out he'd been working 16-hour days. He'd spend 8 hours a day, meetings, emails, Slack, Discord, super responsive. Anyone who needed him could have him. You got 5 minutes, absolutely, for you anytime. And then at 5 o'clock, when everyone else went home, he did 8 hours worth of his core job. And then he went to sleep, and then he did that again. And when that finally fell down, he needed major medical attention, right? Do not use these tricks to push yourself too far. Who recognizes either of these words? Okay. I had a delightful discussion with my almost just barely adult children about these words. So grinding and farming are not your dailies, and they're not a quest, or not a specific side quest like use 6 Insta troops or destroy 90 obstacles. They're like, I've done all the dungeons. There's another set of dungeons. I'd like to do those because I've done all these. But to unlock the new dungeons, I need my companion to be level 99. And I've gathered everything I need in order to upgrade my companion to level 99, except I need 200,000 pearls. And I have, 18 pearls. So I'm going to spend literally months gathering pearls in the hope that I will eventually unlock that dungeon. I've got this quest that I want to do. I need a particular piece of equipment for it. It's going to cost 450 million gold. And I know just the thing to do to get 10 million gold. So if I do that every day for 45 days, I can buy the weapon and I can go and do that. Another version of grinding and farming is the weapon will drop when I do this thing. 1%, 1/10 of 1%, less than that. If I do the thing 10 times, I'm not getting the weapon. If I do the thing 1,000 times, maybe I'm getting the weapon, but I might have to do it 4,000 times or for the rest of my days and technically never get the weapon. And people do these things because they want that item. Often you're getting other benefits as you do it. So if you have to fight a battle to get the 0.1% chance of getting the item, you're getting the loot from the battle, you're getting the experience points from the battle. Maybe along the way you destroy the obstacles so you fulfilled today's side quest. But always in the back of your head, there's like, okay, now I have 4,000 pearls, just 196,000 to go. That's what you're really doing it for, to get that large amount of currency or that large number of tries for that tiny chance of that drop. So another thing that I argued with the gamer people I know, especially the people who play the really intense games where they raid 3 times a week and their spouses know not to bother them and all of that, they have really strong opinions about these words. And the people who are like, I like the yellow candies. If there's yellow candies in the puzzle, I find it more fun. They have no different mechanism. I just like looking at them. I think they're pretty. Grinding in general, if you're not super pedantic about it, is when it's pretty much something you would do, maybe not quite. So you got to do a battle, but you got to do a battle with the bad companion because that's the one that releases the most pearls. You win more pearls when you use it. You lose more often, but you get more pearls, and I'm grinding for pearls. Farming, in the naming trope, is you're supposed to be fighting battles, but you need stuff to make your equipment out of, so you go and farm it, chop down trees or harvest wheat or whatever. So its naming trope is not the main game mechanism. Most people think grinding is fairly unpleasant, hence the name, whereas farming is just boring. And with grinding, you don't know how long it's going to take you to get there. There either isn't a progress bar, or your progress bar might move by 50 or 5,000. So you're grinding for pearls, and you do a battle, and you get 50 pearls, and that's great. And then one day there's an event, and they go, here's 10,000 pearls. Oh, okay, good. Well, that's better than 50. Okay. Whereas with farming, if I do this, this, and this, I'm going to get the 10 million gold. If I get 10 million gold every day for the next 45 days. I will have 450 million gold. I will buy the weapon, and I will do the quest. So do we grind and farm at work? Oh, yeah. Oh, we do. Number one is those meetings. Someone has decided that it's worthwhile to have you in that meeting. And we've all been in a meeting where we don't say anything the entire time, other than, good morning, and did you see the game last night, and that kind of stuff. But you don't participate in the meeting. But every once in a while, you are the treasure drop. This is not that you get one. You're being sent because you are one. You will ask a question. You will remember a thing, and that will really matter. I once designed a piece of equipment to be built in a chemical refinery. And its payback period was going to be about 10 years. And at that point, we would only build projects with a 2-year payback. So it wasn't going to get built. But we wanted to put the design through the approval process anyway, because if things got better or things got cheaper, maybe it would get built in some future year, and they didn't want to waste my design. So I went to a meeting with the senior engineer. He looked over my design, and he pronounced it was technically perfect. Woo, yay. And then he said, "You need titanium for this, right?" Like, yes. This is an oil refinery, but we were moving water. You can't move water through steel pipe because it will rust. You need titanium for this. Yes, that's why it's going to cost so much. There was a project in Montreal, 5-7 years back, not sure, and they bought the pipe, but then they didn't build it. And it's out by the fence. And a couple phone calls later, we had all the titanium pipe we needed. My payback became 1 year, and my project got built. You can be that treasure drop every once in a while, and you might not even notice. Someone's paying for you to be in the room, because once or twice a year you do that. Or when I come in as a consultant, I ask certain questions. Who is supposed to do that? Why has that not been done? What is the consequences of it not being done? And then the whole company has a aha moment, and things get better. You don't know why you've been sent, but consider this possibility. We also get asked to do these very mechanical updates, like we're going to turn on some new warnings. And we won't be clean. That's the point. We expect to be warned. Your job is to make us clean. Oh, heaven help me, style rules and naming conventions. And you may have a tool to help you. Even so, it's incredibly mechanical and very much grinding work. Many people feel this way about writing the docs, right? Remember when I said, what do you do in this game? I play puzzles, I look for things. If I ask you what you do in your job, many people will not say, I write documentation, even though technically their managers would like it if they did. And the same for tests. Oh, it works fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Why would I be writing tests now? So what can you do about this? You've been assigned this task. Feels very grindy. Well, there may be benefit to it. So when it comes to attending the meeting, if you understand that you're the treasure drop, you may actually find yourself much more willing and happy to be in those meetings. Or you can use how much you don't like it to help you not have to do it. Or at least maybe you not have to do it. Who can you trade this off to or delegate this off to? And this is not always about, put the rats on him. I play a game in which you find things in the little pretty scenes. And then for reasons that I really do not understand the purpose of this at all, but you can visit your friends. Now, I don't know who my friends are. When you have a new friend request from Sunshine123, and I said, okay, right? That does not make us particularly close. But you can visit your friends and touch their buildings. And if you do, they get some sort of increased reward or lower cost or something. And every once in a while, the game offers me rewards to do this, the equivalent of 100 purple circles. And I go to the list of friends, click the first one, touch all the buildings as fast as I can, hit the next one, and I get my circles, right? You should try being 5 years old. I hand the tablet to my granddaughter. She carefully scrutinizes the list of friends. This one is a cat, but I don't like that cat. This is a better cat. That's who we're going to visit. Then she looks at all the buildings, and in delight. And she picks one, and little hearts float up from it. And she watches the whole animation. I'm down here. She's watching the whole animation, and she likes it. And then she does another one. And then she stops and thinks about which one to do next. And then she does another one. She can spend 20 minutes. It would take me 30 seconds, but she's having 20 really happy minutes. And I get the reward. So long ago, some of you may know that I teach for Pluralsight, but long, long before Pluralsight existed, there was another company, I can't even remember their name, and I wrote courses for them, and they needed a lot of quiz questions, a lot. And I hated it, and I was bad at it. And I hired a high school teacher. And he didn't know any C++, but he would read my modules and write me the quizzes. And if the quiz made no sense, like, what is the capital of Ontario? A, fish, B, Toronto. I'd be like, okay, I think I need to do something about this material. So it was actually, I produced better material by having it tested by my quiz writer. I didn't have to write quizzes. To this day, my samples, okay, this sample works on this platform, please do it in all the other compilers on all the other platforms, and my presentation design, I'm responsible for this, but for the Pluralsight ones, the same person who edits my videos, I make plain slides. Black text on a white background. I give it to her. She puts Pluralsight icons in it. She varies it. She says, you can't have 3 bulleted list slides in a row. You have to have some with pictures. She does fantastic work. It's great. Now, okay, we're not all in a position to be able to outsource parts of our jobs, especially if we're like regular employees. But there are people in your company who might be a little bit like the 5-year-old visiting only the attractive cats, right? If you can get an intern or a junior or someone to be like, we'd like you to document this API. Like, I'm on an important project. I'm learning this API. I'm contributing, right? Why not? Students, also an opportunity to do this. And you can even be quite senior if you need to learn the system. This is a no-stakes way to learn the system. If I am writing the documentation and I completely get it wrong, it does not bring production down. Someone will look it over and say, you have your true and false meanings reversed here, and I have to fix them, but I don't break anything. I cannot destroy any hard drives or set any buildings on fire by doing this task. And yet when I'm done, I will have learned my way around this system. So it's a matter of perspective. Grind for you may be something really productive for someone else. And again, thinking of that automation, if you decide to go use the dreaded other people's code, libraries and tools that you didn't write, you can skip that grind. Which brings me to prevention. I love Roller Coaster Tycoon. How old is this game now? 20 years, 30 years? I don't know. Amazing game, all in handwritten assembler, and it has some really unusual things going on in it. The guests in the game have emotions. They can be happy or sad. And if they get very, very sad, those of you who can see the tiny thing labeled happiness, it's a bar this big, but they have a lot of energy, that's the big green bar you can see, then they become angry. And when they are angry, they smash things. They get angry when they see litter on the ground, and they get angry when they see vomit on the ground, because if you go on a high intensity ride and get off it, you will throw up. So in this picture, there's little beige splodges on the path are vomit from people who got off you can just see a roller coaster in the background and have thrown up. And people are furthermore saying here, this path is disgusting, which is what a character thinks when it sees a little pile of vomit. And when they get angry enough, they start smashing things, and then they also get angry because they see vandalism. So the game says that you can hire security guards, and you can. And no matter how angry a character is, they will not commit vandalism if there is a security guard within a certain distance of them. But this is actually not what you do about vandalism in your game at all. What you actually do about vandalism in your game is you install what I have in these pictures, benches and a cold drink stand. Because when you get off a game and you feel really nauseated, if you sit down, you will get over that. If you have a cold drink, you will get over it even faster. And then you will get up off your bench, and not only will you not commit vandalism, you will go and continue to spend money in the park. If you design your games in such a way that there's no way to put benches at the exits, then people stagger off and careen down the paths throwing up. But if you install benches, they don't throw up. If you install litter bins, they don't throw litter on the ground, at least until the litter bins are full. But if you hire a groundskeeper, they empty the litter bins and they clean up any litter or vomit that happen to hit the ground. So now, all your metrics go up. You don't have a park full of angry people stomping around who would totally smash the bench except there's a security guard there. You have happy people who got over their nausea and are driving up the park satisfaction, who are spending money, all the things you want. Because yeah, prevention is better than cure. That's shift left, right? That's the story of all of shift left. Just catch it before it actually happens, prevent it from happening. But it's not just about code, it's also about people. So if someone's got complaints, we often don't listen until they're very, very serious complaints. Oh, that's not a big deal. That's just how that person is. We don't need to listen to the fact they don't like this thing. Eventually, that dissatisfaction can become overwhelming, and then it's really hard to act on in any way. So obviously, this applies to your reports and to your coworkers, but it also applies to yourself, because that's the first person we complain to, is ourselves. And many of us have a loop running that says, that's no big deal. Everyone's like that. That happens everywhere. We don't need to pay attention to that. And if you can turn that loop off and actually listen, you get a chance to prevent things before they become too much. Again, in discussing with my children, this is a genuine complaint about, he plays some more serious games. He's complaining about one of his team members. She sits there and waits until the button lights up. And then she moves her hand all the way over to the button and pushes it. Yeah? No. You put your thumb over that button and you just go like this. You just push it. Because in most of these games, there's no dialogue that says, error, that is not available yet, which you have to dismiss. It just ignores you. So you just hammer on it, and the moment it lights up, your repetitive spamming triggers the button. And not only is that a thing you can do, it's like a requirement. This person was going to get kicked out of the guild because they didn't have the ability to just pointlessly hammer on an unavailable button to minimize the time. That's an interesting way to look at things. Doesn't happen very much when I'm trying to make, the puzzle drop down a line. But think about a one-on-one. We meet every 2 weeks, no matter what. I don't wait till you have a problem. Don't wait till I have a problem. We're just going to meet. Sometimes it'll be a short conversation. But we're basically spamming the button, right? And sometimes that button's lit up. And sometimes we get a whole bunch of reaction from having that bi-weekly one-on-one. I've had daily stand-ups. I've had times when I didn't need them. I've had times when I needed them but wasn't having them. Surely people would say, your staff can just tell each other when they have a problem. Oh yeah, sure they can. Especially what happened that A tells B, I have a problem, and B says, good for you. And then A continues to have a problem, right? It needs to happen at the meeting so that A can say, I have a problem with B, and then we get somewhere, not waiting for that button to light up. And although I said that your dailies start with checking all your notifications, if you're sitting waiting for notifications, that's probably not right. Is there a way that you could form equivalent of constantly hitting the button, do something automatic? If it's really time sensitive, that time to, oh, I see the button has lit, I will now move my hand, maybe that is actually too long in this context. Then instead of automating the notification, you probably needed to automate the reaction to do whatever it is that's supposed to happen when that notification goes off. I've been encouraging you to trick yourself because games draw on the fact that you're a good person. They make money because you're nice. And we don't very often admit that we are good or nice, especially at work. So you don't have to tell anyone else this, that you're generous, that you can be counted on, but you can, and the games know it, right? They want you to feel altruistic. I can donate these things to my alliance mates. Here, a bunch of people are trying to compete to win a big glowy chest. I mean, it's glowing with golden light. It must be amazing. And you can see the progress bar. They've already got a pile of coins, and they're well on their way to a magnifying glass. And there's a numerical score. And one person has 168, another person has 0. Like, be ashamed, 0. I've taken their names away. You only have 0. If you had 168, you'd practically be at magnifying glass by now. And you're doing this for your teammates as much as for anyone else. And sometimes you can feel responsible. This is a really complicated dashboard from a different game, which tracks like 5 or 6 different things you could be donating, along with your level, how long it's been since you were online, which is all color-coded so people can tell if it's been too long since you've been online, and the green ticks, which I think mean you've given money today, but I'm not sure. And you feel like, I'm slipping, I'm down to number 7. I used to be a number 2. How can I catch up? I have to do some more things. And sometimes it's about quid pro quo. If I don't donate to you, then when I want something, maybe you won't donate to me. Maybe they'll kick me out of the alliance if I'm always the 0, if I'm always that 5 people who didn't do the thing so we didn't all get the chest. They know you have these things in you. And they make money on it. And then for some reason we go to work and we pretend, I don't care. I don't need to help anybody. I don't feel any sense that I need to set a good example or be a leader. I'm just here for me. That's probably not who you really are. So, are your coworkers in your alliance or league or guild or clan or whatever? Do you feel that you could donate something to them in a metaphorical way? I mean, I don't mean put your hand in your pocket. Although you could bring someone a treat. But I'm going for coffee, can I get you one? Even if they pay, you've still given them the walk down the hall and the caring about their biological needs. But a little piece of information, a little tip, hey, I saw a cool article, here's a funny video, whatever, you're donating to your alliance. People who go to the gym or who run a lot, neither of which I do, swear by this concept of a workout buddy, right? I wasn't gonna go, but I can't let my buddy down. My buddy will be waiting for me and I have to go. And you work out more or you run more or whatever. So if you have these grinds, if you're on this long-term project to get it clean on warnings or something, can the two of you go in the same room? And even if you don't pair, you're doing it together, you're counting on each other, and it gets you through it the same way that it gets you through a difficult run. Maybe your coworkers are not in your alliance. Don't worry, you don't have to be allianceless. Book clubs. Now we call them reading discussion groups because apparently that's, well, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a more manly approach to the problem than a book club, but whatever. Advent of code, hackathons, any kind of like group activity where you get together and you do something together to bring up your skills and have some fun. Joining an open source project is basically joining an alliance, right? And you're going to contribute and you're going to rank yourself against the other people in the alliance and all those things by looking at those little addictive green squares. Coming to meetups, and like I say, or running, because honestly, if you come to enough meetups, sooner or later, someone's going to ask you to help run it. It's just what happens. When you blog, when you tweet, when you stream, when you put a video up on YouTube, you're giving away content. You figured something out, you want people to know, and in exchange for no money whatsoever, you're donating it. And that's your altruism. Why not? And the same with any kind of a community with Slack, Discord, same deal. I mentioned some of those like challenges. We like to compete. We like to solve puzzles. We like to be better than other people. So, I could do Advent of Code. Oh, did you? That's nice. That's sweet. I did it in 3 languages. Oh, really? Well, I did it in 5, right? And I've watched these conversations, but the people involved are having a great time. So I'm not going to begrudge them. Going on Stack Overflow, answering questions, getting scores. I think it does make you better when you answer because you have to be complete. You can't just say that's a rotate and leave. You have to actually come in and show them why it's a rotate and why that's better. Lots of people have dashboards. Who has the most tickets, right? But you can also track things in your own head. How many tickets did I close today? How many lines of code did I delete today? That's a great metric and way better than how many you produced. How many commits did you do? Who here, if you do something that wasn't on your to-do list, writes it on the list? It's not very many people. I do that because a huge thing that drives me is I got 10 things done today. And if 8 of them had not been on the list, then it would look like I only did 2 things today. So I put them on the list. And I've played around with to-do managers, and there's these ones that make them go away, like, what is this, Tetris? You stay there. You are crossed out. I did you. That's my points. That's my 100 purple circles right there. If that's who you are, choose your tools accordingly, according to what motivates you. Well, it's all fun until someone games the system. I had someone who was very motivated by the number of open tickets. So every night after I had gone home, he would assign all his tickets to me with a question, which was usually a restatement of the title. Like if the title said add or date requested field to this report, the question would be, are you asking for a new field on this report called date requested? Yeah, I totes am, dude. But he thought somehow that he was winning the morning meetings because he had no tickets. I'm allowed to say, could you come in my office and close the door, right? You probably can't if you have someone on your team who's doing this. And I'm sad to tell you that the really long-term cure, if you can't tell the person they have one more chance to change their ways, is to change the metric. People who have gained the habit of doing whatever it takes to program to the metric, to close tickets to the metric, to reassign tickets to the metric, whatever, they generally don't stop doing that. You need to stop counting that thing. I was also told a story about an open source project that was getting a whole pile of really useless commits. Rewording of a comment from if you wish you can to if you want you can. Fixing spelling mistakes in comments, other really just purely stylistic changes. There were a lot of them, consumed resources to approve them, but, well, it's an on-ramp, right? You start out with typos and comments. Sooner or later, you'll be a real contributor. Didn't stop, didn't slow down. And when a little drama erupted in the community, this person stood up and said, I've been the top committer in this project for the last 6 months in a row, flashes up the squares, and I think we should, and a whole pile of people gave credibility to being the top committer, right? That's a hard metric to change. We do care who commits to things. And it's really hard if the person chose the metric for themselves. So I don't have a quick solution here, just have this absolutely unavoidable truth. Every system can be gamed. I think it's a good idea to have your own private metrics. No one else sees them, you choose them. And just give yourself a little reward. I started out having 4,782 warnings, and now I'm down to 9. I am a hero, I am a rock star, right? That's fine. In the games, we teach each other things that are not documented. There's this building up here by the fence, and when you click it, it moves. And if you click it enough, you get a gem. And then it won't move again until tomorrow. It's not in the documentation, but everybody knows it because everybody tells everybody. In fact, there are entire wikis and forums. There are forums about Roller Coaster Tycoon where people are like, I can't make this work. And then someone else tells them how to make it work. I know we all hate our official work wikis, but you know some stuff about how to be faster, about how to be more productive, less frustrated, less upset. You know that although technically you're supposed to do this simple 21-step procedure, there's actually this 4-step procedure that works. And there's a script that someone wrote that fills in the other missing steps for you afterwards. Can you pass that on as lore? What would happen if you did, if other people knew your secrets? Games level you up. Jobs don't level you up very often, especially the older you get. I haven't had a promotion since 1986. But some people celebrate level ups in games. Like you'll get things in the chat. Hey, congrats on, going up to level 104 or whatever. At work, a lot of people are very low key. Hey, you're a senior, blah, blah, blah now. Oh yeah, it's no big deal. Anyone could have. Like you don't want to make the people feel bad who didn't get the promotion. So you're not strutting around going, that's right, I am. You're like, I guess. But something that happens in games that we don't think happens at work is maxing out. So you can get this building up to level 10, but there is no level 11. You can get to level 100, but there is no level 101. You can do all the dungeons, and then you've done all the dungeons. Do you keep playing? Do you be like, that's fine, I enjoyed the dungeons, I'll start again from dungeon 1? A lot of people don't. But you can also max out at work, especially if you're on a technical ladder and you don't want to ever be a VP. You get good judgment from experience, which you mostly get from bad judgment. And in a game, when you make bad judgment, you know it. So here's that puzzle that you probably can't do in 2 minutes. You try anyway. Time runs out. That's okay. I have 3 time extender tools. I'll use my time extender tool. Oh, still not finished. Okay, I'll use another time extender tool. Still not finished. Now I have no time extender tools and I still didn't finish. That was bad judgment. And you know it. You feel it immediately. And then you got to do something about it. You're going to try again, or you're going to wait till you have 4 time extender tools before you try again. That lesson translates immediately to work. You feel less intense shame when you screw up at work, but you do feel it, and you can take that signal and use it to figure out what you're going to do about it. I should stop playing. I would never have used up 3 time extender thingies if it wasn't 11 o'clock at night. And I wanted to just be finished because then I would have done this thing that many times and then I could go to bed. So I kept going. That was dumb, and what I need to do is stop. These purple circles are imaginary and I do not need to earn them. Can you bring that lesson to work? Can you decide this is a really good time to go get a coffee or lunch or just go for a walk? They're the same signal, the same emotional sensations, the same physiological sensations. You can learn to recognize them in the game and then apply them at the job. Now, games are your choice. Play when you want, stop when you want. If you don't like visiting people, don't visit people. Or, get someone to visit them for you, or do it when they'll give you the gems for visiting. It does not really apply elsewhere. If I have a game that's got parts I like and parts I don't like, and that border proportions start to shift, I'm like, I'll play a different game. I can do card games instead of Tetris, that's fine. And if there is an alliance, if there is a clan and someone in it doesn't interact the way you like, they're too chatty, they're always congratulating people, they get mad if no one congratulates them, go find a different alliance that's at your conversational speed, talks as much as you like or as little as you like. There are alliances where they're constantly urging each other, come on, we need 3 more people to do the thing so we can always get the chest. And then there are people who are like, don't nag me. I'll do it when I want. Well, go to an alliance that's less naggy. Doing that at work, a little harder to do, right? Boss, I've been thinking about this and meetings. Unless there's a reward in it for me, I just don't want to do them anymore. Well, that actually can probably be arranged, right? I don't like writing documentation. I'm much better at debugging. It may very well be in some places that they'll let you specialize because there's other people who are willing to specialize, but it's also the case that a lot of jobs are a package deal. They come with a variety of duties and you're expected to perform them all. People come to me for advice about how to speak, but a surprisingly large number of people come to me to ask for advice about how not to speak. They said I should do a presentation about our project at the next all-hands meeting, and I don't want to do that. How can I not do that? And that's not advice I'm actually very good at giving you at all, because I think you should do that. But also that saying no thank you is often considered kind of a career-limiting move. You look for the reward. There is a reward. If you've got the right kind of boss, you can ask straight out, what is in it for me? And hopefully they don't say, well, you get a trip to Ohio. But if all else fails, you can also try to find a job that has a different proportion of activities, just as you chose a game with a different proportion of activities. I don't actually expect you to do that. What I expect you to do is to understand you're wiser than you think. You have learned a ton of stuff playing Tetris and Solitaire and Roller Coaster Tycoon that actually directly applies to your job. You have these little heuristics about, I'm beating a dead horse, I should stop and take a break, I have to persuade people to do things my way, I should listen to that plan, I shouldn't listen to that plan. All you have to do is notice that you are in a parallel situation and you can use a lesson you learned somewhere else. I have a whole pile of little sayings. You know, the only thing better than learning from your mistakes is learning from someone else's. But I really like, don't pay for the same lesson twice. When you were playing your game, you learned a lesson. That is now your lesson. Why would you go and mess up at work to pay for that lesson again? You've already had that lesson. Just use it. Because for whatever your definition is of better, I want you to see if you can move towards that definition of better, happier, whatever. As I said, using these words and ideas that you already know from playing games. And with that, I do not have any time for questions because I hit my time right on. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Great talk. Grinding and farming. Maybe I missed it, but do you have any examples of farming at work? Because most of them seem to be grinding.
Not all jobs have things that you got to do, but they're boring. But maybe some kind of a roll call situation, like if you have those stand-up meetings and nothing ever happens in them, everyone's fine, nobody's blocked, nothing's new, it's the same as yesterday, that would feel like farming. Yeah.
Right back at the start, you mentioned wasting time on tasks that don't actually have any real reward to them.
Right.
And you also mentioned not knowing what rewards might be available for performing a certain task. How do you go about working out what tasks to avoid and what tasks to actually, attempt?
Yeah, that is one great way to know that is from your coworkers, right? So your coworkers may say, hey, if they want to put you on the whatever committee, you should totally do that because you're going to meet people in other departments. It's going to be so useful to you when you want to move teams. They'll tell you the reward for being on that committee. And someone else will say, do not get on the facilities committee. It's deadly boring and none of the people who are on it will ever be of value to you. That's good advice.
One thing you mentioned was the kind of unexpected rewards from things you were sent to. Do you happen to have any second-hand insights about sitting on a chair for us?
I understand the purpose is not to hurt your back. So I'm not really clear how teaching you how to sit on a chair manages to make you sit on chairs differently, but I believe it's all ergonomics, not hurting your back, your wrists, and other parts of your body. Yeah.
Just a comment from my side. We had a problem in our company 7 years about boring meetings, and nobody wanted to go on. And we introduced this policy so that there have to be an agenda sent out before the meeting, and you allowed to absent from the meeting if you think that there's nothing in the meeting for you or that you cannot contribute into the meeting. And the result was great.
Yeah,
just as a
then you only have
hint.
people who want to be. The problem is some people think they have nothing to contribute, but it turns out if they'd been there, they would have. I also know people who bring treats to meetings, cookies and donuts and stuff like that. That's a reward, right? If you come to my meeting, there's going to be bagels and cream cheese. People used to always want to go to the accounting meetings because accounting had a lot of budget and there was bagels and cream cheese.
So I understand I need to game in order to promote my career. How many hours a day should I spend gaming?
So ideally, everything you do is double weighted. When I go camping, I never take any item that only serves one purpose. So I bring these flat little pillows and you can sit on them on a log or a rock and that's comfy, but I also keep them in the backpack so that the pointy things in the backpack don't hurt my back, and you can also fan the fire with them. And when you do stuff at work, it should be like that. So you're moving this metric, which is for your purely personal gamey stuff, but you're also moving this metric, so you get the you still work here reward.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for staying.